Hello, it is another Tuesday, which means it's time for another in real life video. This one I figured we should probably talk about, or at the very least I'll say we should probably give a bit of a channel update with regards to scheduling, right? Ever since the sort of shadow drop for the Oblivion remaster and sort of just like what's been going on with the channel and all of that. In particular with regards to other playthroughs that we have unfortunately had to sort of skip times for, regularly scheduled broadcasts or uploads of, I'll say. So about that, although we sort of had a decent amount of forewarning for the shadow drop of the Oblivion remaster, nobody really knew up until like it was about to land when exactly it was. And obviously that has sort of caused a disturbance with the, like I said, the regularly scheduled uploads for the channel for two reasons. The first being, I really wanted to play it myself, and the second being that, well, as you can see, it's pretty popular among most of the viewership. But make no mistake, there are still some things that folks had wanted to see and that I wanted to see to completion. So for the meantime, if you paid attention to the very first video that I uploaded about the Oblivion remaster, the playthrough specifically, and you paid attention to the comment, a lot of this will seem like old hat. You may be familiar with what I'm about to say, but once again, like I said, probably best to have it out there in a dedicated IRL video that I can refer people to should they ask in the future. So, other playthroughs, like, for instance, Starfield, Avowed, even Fallout 3, sometimes even Baldur's Gate 3, kind of take a back seat to the Oblivion playthrough, the Oblivion remastered playthrough. Unfortunately, that's sort of the way of things, especially since, you know, we weren't exactly given a huge amount of time ahead to, like, do extra stuff to sort of, like, make an opening, as it were. In knowing that it was coming, I was trying to get stuff done ahead of time. Like a lot of the Avowed videos were like 90 minutes long, in knowing that eventually Oblivion Remastered would land. We just didn't know exactly when. But those are just on the back burner, right? They're not fully out of the purview of what we're doing. When I get the opportunity, and I have time, I don't want to like run myself into the dirt trying to get them done. Because I still want to like enjoy what I'm doing at the present, which, you know, of course, like I said, includes a lot of Oblivion. But longer term, as we sort of get more free time, more time to what would you say, fill the schedule, more open slots, more open stuff, just more time in general. We will perhaps very soon, depending, be wrapping up Baldur's Gate 3, which is sort of the long-standing CRPG slot on the channel. When that is done, rather than immediately spin up, which was originally the plan, rather than immediately spin up a playthrough for Planescape Torment, that will be put into the hopper. That'll be up next in the queue and all of that, so to speak. But I think we'll make one of the other playthroughs take that spot, which I would say probably will be either Fallout 3 or Avowed, because those are also, Avowed is a bit of a shorter game, and I think we could knock it out a little bit quicker, right? Though I don't want to like rush through it. That said, Avowed, fairly fast-paced, at least the way I've been playing it. And Fallout 3, we're nearing the end of that. We've got like 2 of the DLC remaining, and we've got most of the core game wrapped up at this point. So one of those 2 will take that spot, and then eventually Starfield will roll back in as well. Sort of doing this has made me realize sort of the way in which I do want to have scheduling go in the future. I kind of do like doing the 2-hour videos, right? For Oblivion, we've done, at minimum, the videos have been 2 hours long each. And the reason I like this is kind of two-sided or twofold. The first being that it's a bit easier for me to do, right? Especially having learned this recently, as we've had kind of like way too many playthroughs going simultaneously. I've kind of like found out like where my, at least for the time being, where my personal limits are and sort of the way in which I work a little bit better. I think the optimal way to do it is to have fewer going simultaneously. I'm still down for like, what will typically be like the current Bethesda game that we're playing, right? So in this case, it would be Oblivion Remastered, and then, or some sort of other action role-playing game. But like I said, it's very liable to be a Bethesda game, since, you know, that's kind of like the bread and butter around here. And then in the evening, or like, you know, 6 hours after that, would be the CRPG slot, which has, like I've said, existed for time immemorial. I like the idea of that. And I think what I want to proceed toward is having both of those be 2 hours long, right? Having it to where, barring IRL videos, 2 videos a day, and have them both be roughly 2 hours long. One of the things I've noticed, especially on days where I had to record like 3 of them, and I was already a little bit short on time on a kind of like real life stuff, because we just recently had like Easter holiday, recently had an anniversary for me and my partner, and it has made me realize, oh, it's not very conducive to sort of spin up into recording mode relative to just going for 2 hours, right? I've noticed that on a personal level, maybe some other folks are better at this than me, but it is personally easier for me to just like load up, get into like, okay, I'm in Baldur's Gate 3 mode, I'm in Oblivion Remastered mode, and I'm just going for 2 hours, right? Maybe I need to take a break in between to like go use the restroom or whatever. But otherwise, just slamming down and going for 2 hours, that's a lot easier than going for about 1 hour and then taking a break and swapping to another game and going for another hour, which, true enough, some folks have written in asking like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And at this point, I'm not. I've sort of found my limit, right? I've found the point at which I think I'm hitting sort of like diminishing returns, or like I'm getting a like deleterious effect by going this route. So I think, like I said, the best way to proceed is sort of what I've kind of like naturally gone into, which is sort of during the day, right? Well, I'll try to refrain from using that type of jargon given time zones, but 1 video a day will be like, for instance, Oblivion Remastered, and that'll be 2 hours. And then eventually Baldur's Gate 3, and that'll also be 2 hours. And then on Mondays, Morrowind Mondays would, of course, take the place of either Baldur's Gate 3, the CRPG slot, or, like, for instance, Oblivion Remastered. It would take the spot of one of them. And Morrowind Mondays would also go up to 2 hours, which sort of highlights the other benefit of going, the secondary benefit that I was talking about, of going to this sort of, like, 2 hours scheduling, is that I'll be able to just get through games a little bit quicker, right? Rather than having more that proceed more slowly, we'll have fewer up, but we'll be going through them at roughly double the rate, which I think is a benefit to stuff like a weekly video series like Morrowind Mondays, where we can get more done, we can see more of Tamriel rebuilt and stuff like that, as well as, for instances like Oblivion Remastered, it lets me be a little bit more reactive, right? Wherein I'm not kind of just stuck in a playthrough. Of course, I could just like, you know, put something on hiatus, which I've done. But on a personal level, I kind of don't like that, right? I kind of, there's a part of me that greatly prefers like doing something to completion, right? It's just like a personal affectation or tick, if you will. But being able to do it twice a day or once a day for 2 hours daily, right, rather than alternating, I think is the preferable way to go about it, at least for me. But I think that's the way in which we'll eventually proceed forward, right? For now, however, we're kind of in like an interstitial like chaos zone where if I have the opportunity, I will record like, you know, I'll do the usual hour for Starfield, or you do the usual hour for Fallout 3 or Avowed, if I can fit them in. But true enough, they take a back seat, right? And like I said, eventually, once we wrap up Baldur's Gate 3, rather than immediately go into the CRPG slot, again, we'll sort of use that free opening in the schedule to sort of wrap up stuff that we've got still like hanging by a thread, right? And we're fortunate enough that although I didn't quite get to wrap them up, we're decently close to the end on stuff like Fallout 3's playthrough, as well as Avowed being a bit of a decently short game, right? So hopefully in these trying times of entering the chaos zone, you can bear with me. I don't know. It seems like the vast majority of folks are appreciative of the like daily 2-hour oblivions, right? But make no mistake, haven't forgot about the others and definitely do want to tend to them as well, right? So this is sort of, like I said, this is a decent enough way to sort of put it out there, get a video that I can refer people to where I sort of talk about more in depth if they would like. But make no mistake, we will tend to all the rest. Part of me is wondering, since Starfield, however, isn't near completion, and I do want to continue hammering away at that, part of me is wondering if I should alternate that into a weekly situation, not unlike Morrowind Mondays, and do like a Starfield Saturday or Starfield Sunday, and have that be like 2 or 3 hours, you know, have that sort of function in that way, right? I don't know. Yeah, that's the real point of questioning for me, right? But yeah, that's sort of the plan for the time being, right? We'll make our way through these things. Like I said, the main goal for me, what I've found that I really quite like, is 2-hour videos a day, right? I think that's pretty good. And then I think gives me room to sort of do on Tuesdays a little quick IRL video. And I would also love, if something new comes out, to do like a little one-off preview, not unlike Behold. We just recently did one for Atomfall, where it was like, I don't know, like 2.5 hours or so, maybe 3 hours or however it was. Just sort of do like a quick dive into that and like tool around for a bit. A game that I can't necessarily commit to. And either I'll throw it like permanently on the back burner or just for the time being, right? And be like, oh, I'll come back to it, you know? For instance, if like Elder Scrolls wasn't such a major like focus for me in the channel, for instance, that would have been like Oblivion Remastered, right? On like a Friday or whatever. I would do like 2 or 3 hours showing off, look, it's Oblivion Remastered, and maybe someday we'll come back to it or whatever, right? But sort of fulfilling that same role of being able to check out newer stuff. Like, for instance, I really don't have time to cover Clair Obscura Expedition 33 or whatever it's called. That French game. French, like, role-playing game that's made very much in sort of like the style of like a tactical, like squad-based JRPG. It looks super interesting to me, but I don't really have time for it right now. I would love to be able to do like a little quick one-off on it, sort of looking in there while it's sort of hot off the presses, as it were, and eventually later come back to it, right? I'd be super down and interested in doing that. But yeah, this is sort of, like I said, like my main plans for it. Right now, we're in the chaos zone. Things are kind of in flux, right? Chaos is all around us. What can we do? But for now, rest assured, with Baldur's Gate 3's, the first playthrough sort of wrapping up, I do want to get it to where it's like, maybe even while it's wrapping up, we could pump that up to like a 2-hour playthrough, right? It's, I don't know. So, something I'm thinking about, right? I like the idea of 2 videos a day. Every day, they're the same exact thing, barring Morrowind Mondays, barring like a one-off, and they're always 2 hours, right? I feel like that keeps it simple enough. It's understandable. And it keeps it like a good pace to where we're getting through these at a decent pace. Because true enough, sometimes I like look at the backlog, and other people have remarked about this to me as well. Like for instance, in the case of CRPGs and all of that, there's such a plethora of old CRPGs that I would love to play. And shoot, also, I'd love to do more, like I've said before in the past, I'd love to do more playthroughs in different ways of Baldur's Gate 3. But it's a little limiting when it's just 1 hour a day, right? And previously it was alternating, right? But I think that's the sweet spot, right? Because it's so much easier for me to just focus on one game for 2 hours than two games for 2 hours, right? I end up saving so much more time because I sort of have like, I don't know what you would call it, this like refractory period, right? And maybe I'm more likely to like take a longer break and like go get a snack or like get sucked up watching like something on YouTube myself or like catch a show or whatever. And I get sucked up out of it, right? I find it's way better for like my own personal workflow in that sense, right? Like I said, apologies if none of this sounds good to you, but this is probably the way forward for me. That sounds very dire when I say it that way. The way forward for me, it's not dire. This is probably the way in which I would like to handle it, right? It seems like the most efficacious route, I would say. All right, that ought to do it for this week. Hopefully this helps out people going forward into the chaos zone. I'm sure we'll get more and more questions posited about like, well, what happened to Fallout 3? Don't worry, it's coming back. We're going to wrap it up. And maybe faster than you could even believe. No, that's not true because we have had to take some time off on account of the juggernaut on the channel being Oblivion as it stands. Anyway, until next time, please take care of each other.